Well, welcome to the venue for building the base for 2021. Marius, I salute you, sir. For those in the know, it turns out Heathrow Airport in a bad place for the cyclist. It's pan flat, the tarmac is silky smooth, the kind of place where you can get up to a decent speed, so long as you haven't got too much of a, I guess, a headwind. And we have perfect conditions today. Goldilocks temperature, about a 5 mile an hour tailwind, 5 mile an hour headwind. Heathrow Airport, 14 kilometres, like I say, it goes up only 6 metres, so perfect for you, Mr. Scott Hughes from ComHunt TV. So welcome to Sunday morning, 6th of December. Now, over the course of August, right the way through to now, with Ed Laverack, I've been very much focusing on building the top end power, i.e. VO2 max zone 5, anaerobic zone 6. And that was super handy for the UK hill climbing season. For those of you who don't know, UK hill climbing season, there's lots of short, sharp, punchy climbs, anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes in terms of the duration. So anaerobic and VO2 max is the name of the day. However, over the course really of September, right the way through to now, work has also been super busy. And by focusing on short, sharp, intense training sessions on one Zwift race a week, my volume of training has fallen by about 40% in terms of kilometres on the bike. So my aerobic fitness has deteriorated. Now looking forward to 2021, like many of you, I've got my eye on a couple of longer distance events, including La Marmotte in July 2021. About 174 kilometres, 5,000 metres of climbing. And I know, therefore, that I've got to build my tempo, my zone 3 endurance. Just as many of you will be over the course of the winter. So with Ed Laverack, I've decided to make that investment. More time, getting up earlier probably, to put in more kilometres on the bike, and Ed will make the sessions really interesting. I mean, Ed can make a really lovely tempo session, trust me on that. So in order to establish a benchmark for where my aerobic fitness is, I stole a very nice training idea from Marius Lagner. Hence, he found me at Heathrow Airport. So how'd the legs feel? Still on fire? Yeah. The legs are absolutely smashed to smithereens. Marius, this one's for you, sir. Thank you very much for the idea. So we just finished our little base build on a cold Sunday morning. How you feeling, Paul?
Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, it's not too bad.
He's always, yeah, alright.
A little bit sore.
We did 2 hours, 50 minutes for 100 kilometres. Average speed 35 kilometres an hour, or 35.1, and we both took the wind the whole time. I wasn't hiding in Paul's wheel, albeit I really wanted to.
Hiding in your wheel.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. Heathrow Airport, for those in the know, is a great place for the cyclists. Nice quiet roads, well, certainly during the lockdown. Flat, hey Scott, flat as a pancake. Very few traffic lights, so you can get up a nice average speed. And boy, do I realise the fact that I need to build up more base miles, because that was properly emotional for me. Probably average, I don't know, 220, 225 watts, I guess. Didn't have the average watts on the bolt, but definitely average speed was good. And this marks the beginning of a little base build with Mr. Ed Laverack, and it gives him some data to work with to see what would need to happen in terms of the training to build my endurance and zone 3 power for the events over the spring and summer. The level of shivering is at a peak, and once again you find us having the lunch of kings. Eleni and Larry's, there we go, and of course baked products are on the agenda. Now we're in a Tesco's car park, and this is an M&S Ice Spice bun. Go figure. Well, the download, it's complete. the statistics are to hand, and here we have it. The Heathrow Airport loop, PR lap 23:39, and you can see, yeah, 7 of them there. But more importantly, if we go to the ride itself, you can see that big block there, and we drill into the big block, and there we have it. The level of shaking is high. 100 kilometers, 234 watts. Pretty happy with that over 2 hours 51. Thank you very much for coaching that out of me. There was plenty of encouragement going on there from Paul, I can tell you, especially in that final hour where, well, let's say the mind wasn't quite as willing as maybe it ought to have been.
Good character building for you.
Yeah, character building. Base miles, you gotta love them. So having set a benchmark at Heathrow Airport, 7.1 laps, 100 kilometres, 35.1 kilometres an hour average, 234 watts average, and also I was taking all the wind the whole way round, as I said. I've set a nice benchmark, and I wondered to myself, how long would it take to ride 100 kilometres on Zwift on one of the flatter circuits, aka Tempus Fugit Flat. Just interrupting the vlog right now to fast forward you in time to the end of the epic 100 kilometre tempo session, and indeed another 20 kilometres on top of that, because in unwelcome breaking news, and I guess epitomising the calamity and chaos that is my life, I actually failed to hit the in-game record for that erg mode session from hell.
Oh no!
So having had basically an emotional breakdown, and Jane having peeled me off the ceiling and brought me back down to earth, we managed to regroup and hatch a cunning plan, because basically 234 watts tempo on Tempus Fugit Flat looks pretty much the same whether you're doing it for more than 2.5 hours or just half an hour. So I did an extra half an hour, so visually you can see the speed that I was averaging over the course of the 100 kilometers. And that's why basically the distances and all that kind of stuff aren't quite tallying up to what you're seeing on the screen. Anyway, back in time, so 100 kilometers as it were. So you find me here. It's 1 hour 29, but that includes the warm-up. I'm about 1 hour 23 minutes into the mother of all ERG sessions to replicate just that. Feels good so far. I've been very much focusing, and this is one of the good things that Paul Hamblett's told me, try and get to a place where you feel like you're floating on the pedals. And that certainly worked outdoors, and here indoors, that happy place, that sweet spot place, for me personally, appears to be 90 to 100 RPM. Heart rate's a little high because I am talking right now. It's been in about the 155 range. So, to quote Paul and Muhammad Ali, float like a butterfly, tempo like a Laverack. I don't think Paul said that. Anyway. And I also, therefore, thought this would be a nice, interesting, practical science lesson in the Lovett Lab, the Bro Science Lab. Because as I say, many of us are looking forward to these longer events. And most of us will be training a lot of that indoors on the turbo. And if we're putting down 100 kilometers on Zwift, does that translate to what it's going to be like to ride 100 kilometers in real life? I.e., is a Zwift kilometer equal to a real life kilometer? I think we know the answer to that. It isn't. No, it isn't. But what's the difference? That is the question that today I intend to answer for all of us on behalf of science. So once again, I've done as much as I can to kind of equalise conditions. Heathrow Airport, 14 kilometres a lap, you ascend all of 6 metres. Now Tempus Fugit, it's about 17 kilometres a lap, and you ascend 25 metres. So there's a little bit more climbing, but it's the best we can do. Even Richmond Flats, you ascend more per kilometre than you do on Tempus Fugit. I've also specified the Trek Edmonda because, like my Colnago, the Trek Edmonda isn't particularly aero. Additionally, you've seen I've increased my weight from 64 kilograms, which is what I am on the scales, to 65. That's because for the Heathrow Airport, effort, I had all my warm winter cycling clothing on. And so an extra kilogram here hopefully will equalise that. Feels good, as it should do. I mean, this is, after all, you know, lower to mid zone 3, that nice sweet spot. And definitely at the moment, the legs are floating on the pedals. Trying to focus on a nice circular motion and putting back. Deep breaths out, expelling the CO2, bringing in the oxygen. That brings down the heart rate a little bit. Anyway, how long have I got to go? So they're showing 61.3 on Zwift. There's about 4 kilometres for the warm-up. So what's that, 57? I've got about 43 kilometres to go. Yeah, mental arithmetic is challenging. 95.4 on the clock. Just under 10 kilometres to go for the 100 at 2:35. Watching Phil Rich on his live stream. Check out Phil Rich. It's getting me going. I've been in a live chat, but now, let me just pause a sec. Now, starting to struggle a little bit. I'm certainly not floating like a bee. It's not terrible, but looking forward to this ending. I'll report back shortly. So I've been on ERG mode the whole way. Average 235 watts. I tried to edge down with the sort of trim settings in Zwift Companion to 98%, but it's still left it at 235 watts average. So that's as close as I can get to the 234 I averaged outside. I've also found I don't need quite as much carbohydrate during the ride indoors as I did outdoors, which is interesting. You need to learn to fuel more outdoors. Well, that's certainly a bro science tip. Well, we're locked and loaded now, onto the glide slope, aiming for 105 kilometres, and then we'll do the maths. And if you're American, math. I had also company from Robert Shaw, R. Shaw, for a good chunk of this. Generally I was in front, most of it I was in front, so no real impact on the average speed. It was really nice to ride with you, Robert. He was doing 3.5 hours at base. I'm hoping this is going to be just over 2.5. I've got about 1.5 kilometres to go. I forgot to take note of exactly the kilometres when I started the zone 3 effort at 2:35. So I'm going to 105 kilometres just to be sure. It's been a bit difficult the last half hour, but I've got myself back together. I think that's always the way when you're in the final straight. Just under 1 kilometre to go now. Heart rate has drifted up from 155 to 167. It's going to be quite a lot quicker, but I'll do the arithmetic once we come over 105. Phil Rich is about to take on the little KOM on the French course. Keep going. Cadence has been pretty even in the 90 to 100 range. Oh dear me. You've got to love the base miles, haven't you? Dear me. I do prefer the shorter, sharper, more intense training sessions. Nearly there. This final kilometre is taking an eternity. There we go. 105. ERG. Kind of turn it off. There we go. Oh. I've got to say, hurts there. More in Zwift inside than it does in real life. Oh dear me. I'll report back in a second, but very, very relieved that that's all done now. Well, the results are in. 100 kilometres has been completed, plus another 20 on top. And it's time to compare just how long it takes, plus the average speed, to complete 100 kilometres outdoors in perfect conditions on a beautiful flat smooth surface with very little ascending, with similar on Zwift. Now remember, outdoors average speed 35.1 kilometers an hour, average watts 234, and in terms of the time, 2 hours 51 minutes, and that compares to 2 hours 31 minutes to complete the 100 kilometers on Tempus Fugit Flat on Zwift. We are actually climbing a little bit more than outside. So that's 20 minutes quicker. And in terms of percentage difference, it's therefore 12% quicker to complete each kilometre on Zwift. Or another way of looking at it is a Zwift kilometre is only 88% of a real world kilometre. Science. In terms of the speed, average speed for my 234 watts on Zwift, 39.9 kilometres an hour. And there's no way you're getting near, well certainly not I'm getting near, 39.9 kilometres an hour outdoors for my 234 watts. Well, certainly not on a normal bike, maybe on a TT bike, but I probably couldn't, well, I know I couldn't sustain a position on a TT bike for the 100 kilometres. So 39.9 kilometres an hour indoors on Zwift compares to 35.1 kilometres an hour outdoors in real life. Well, if you like this debacle of a video, please do give it a thumbs up. Debacle though it was, it certainly wasn't, I guess, the specimen of burnished perfection that I'd imagined in my own mind's eye. I guess the bro science still holds. We now know that to complete 1 kilometre on Zwift, it's the equivalent of only 88% of that in the real world. Therefore, if you're training for a sportif, for a Gran Fondo or a Haute route, that kind of thing, you're going to have to do 12% more distance inside on Zwift than you would do outdoors in real life. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd be super grateful if you would. It certainly helps the channel. But in the meantime, whoever you are and whatever you do, please remember to live, thrive and stay healthy. Take care.